Welcome again students, and in this part we will study about the salts and their types. As we all know about salts. What are salts? Salts are those ionic compounds which when dissolved in water it will give ions other than hydronium ion and hydroxyl ions. And so a salt is formed by a reaction of an acid with a base, and that reaction is known as neutralization reaction. And there are different types of salt, and first type is normal salt or neutral salt. As we all know about this term, that is neutral. Neutral means a substance that is not acidic and not showing the properties of basic. So that salt will be the neutral salt. And in case of neutralization reaction also, we study that hydronium ion and hydroxyl ion, they combine with each other, they react with each other and form neutral solution or salt, and so that type of salt are neutral salt. Then how can be a neutral salt will be formed? That is by the reaction of strong acid with a strong base. And what will happen here? Acid as well as base both are strong, and so the salt formed, that will be the neutral salt. For example, these are the neutral salt with pH value 7. For example, like sodium chloride, sodium sulfate, potassium nitrate. And here let's take example sodium hydroxide, that is a strong base, and hydrochloric acid, also strong acid, and after reacting with each other it will form sodium chloride and water will be formed here, and this sodium chloride, that is a salt, and this salt will be neutral salt. As here the hydroxyl ion which are furnished from this base, that is a strong base, they will neutralize the H plus ions which are dissociate from aqueous solution of hydrochloric acid, and there will be the reaction of hydronium ion and hydroxyl ion, and the result here will be the neutral salt, that is sodium chloride. Next type of salt is acidic salt. अब आपको समझ आ गया है कि एसिडिक सॉल्ट कैसे फॉर्म होगा. इफ द एसिड विल बी स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड द बेस दैट विल बी वीक, मीन्स मोर प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ एसिड्स विल बी प्रेजेंट in the acidic salt. Let's take example here. For example, ammonium chloride, copper sulfate, aluminium chloride, and these are the acidic salt having pH value less than 7. हमने जब pH स्केल के बारे में पढ़ा था उस टाइम हमने पढ़ा था कि जो pH है अगर less than 7 है, then the properties shown by substance that will be acidic. And so let's take example here. For example, ammonium chloride, that's an acidic salt, and how this salt is formed by the reaction of ammonium hydroxide. Ammonium hydroxide, as this ammonium hydroxide is a weak base, and this weak base after reacting with strong acid like hydrochloric acid, and there will be the formation of ammonium chloride. And here the hydroxyl ion, they are only partially present in the solution, and what will happen here? The acidic character shown by the salt, that will be more, and so the salt that will be acidic. Next is basic salt, and basic salt will be formed by the reaction of strong base and weak acid. And here let's take example again, sodium carbonate and sodium acetate. And here again the value, pH value, that will be more than 7, and as the pH is more than 7, so this salt will be a basic salt. Let's see the reaction here. Sodium carbonate, you all know that sodium carbonate, it's a base, and how it is formed? It is formed after the reaction of strong base, that is sodium hydroxide, and weak acid, that is carbonic acid. And so again here hydroxyl ions that are present in more quantity, as they are dissociate from strong base, that is sodium hydroxide, and it will not completely neutralized by the H plus ions, as here H plus ions that is furnished from a weak acid. And so the salt formed here, that will be a basic salt, means this salt having the characteristics of a base, and so it will be a basic salt. And there are some classification which are based on the family of salt, like sodium family, means in which the sodium element is present, that will be the sodium family salts, like sodium chloride, sodium nitrate, sodium sulfate, sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate. And potassium family, that is potassium chloride, potassium nitrate, and potassium carbonate, potassium permanganate, KMnO4. Sulfate family, like potassium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, calcium sulfate, etc. Now here are some properties of salts which are very important to understand the different types of salts. And first property is water of crystallization. आपने नोट किया है, आपने एक्टिविटी भी की होगी कि जब हम कॉपर सल्फेट है which is blue in color, and when we heat this copper sulfate, what will happen? The color that get white. And why? Due to the water of crystallization. और इसके लिए कंप्लीट एक्टिविटी आप जो है देख सकते हो, और उस वीडियो का लिंक आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में मिल जाएगा, and you can clear the concept with the help of this activity. So what will be the water of crystallization? The fixed number of water molecules. Concentrate here. Fixed number of water molecules that will be chemically attached to each formula unit of a salt in its crystalline form. And this water is known as water of crystallization, and salt will be known as hydrated salt. As water is present, so salt will be hydrated salt. Let's take example like copper sulfate. Copper sulfate pentahydrate, color will be blue, and pentahydrate, hydrate means water is present, so due to these 5 molecule of water, it will be pentahydrate, and the blue color of this copper sulfate is only due to these 5 molecule of water, and this molecule of water, they are known as water of crystallization. And this water is responsible for the geometry. Geometry यानी जो इसकी shape होती है crystals की, that is geometry and color of a salt. Again, if you take example ferrous sulfate heptahydrate, hepta means 7 water molecule are present here, so it will be heptahydrate, and the color is green. And again, if you heat this ferrous sulfate heptahydrate, the color will be white. And you can also see this activity. First chapter में भी हमने ये activity की थी. And next, sodium carbonate decahydrate, that is washing soda, and calcium sulfate 2H2O, that is gypsum, कैल्शियम सल्फेट हेमीहाइड्रेट, दैट इज POP. और नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में हम इन सारे सॉल्ट्स को जो है स्टडी करेंगे. सो आई होप यू गॉट द कंसेप्ट ऑफ वाटर ऑफ क्रिस्टलाइजेशन. मीन्स द वाटर मॉलिक्यूल प्रेजेंट विद द फॉर्मूला यूनिट ऑफ अ सॉल्ट in its crystalline form, that will be the water of crystallization. Next property of salts is efflorescence. What will be the efflorescence? When some substance are exposed to air, what will happen? They lose water to atmosphere and thereby reducing in their weight. अपने आप ही जो है वो water lose कर देते हैं when we put them into the atmosphere. And what will happen here? Solids that behave in this ways are those with water of crystallization. यानी जिनके अंदर वाटर ऑफ क्रिस्टलाइजेशन प्रेजेंट है वही सॉल्ट्स जो है ये प्रॉपर्टी शो करेंगे. एंड द मॉलिक्यूल ऑफ वाटर ऑफ क्रिस्टलाइजेशन आर partially or completely lost to the atmosphere, and so thereby making them lose their crystalline form. यानी उनकी जो ज्योमेट्री है crystalline form है that get lose after losing the water molecule into the atmosphere. Let's take example like sodium sulfate decahydrate. It will lose all its water of crystallization when exposed to air. Sodium carbonate decahydrate, it will lose 9 molecule of its molecule of water of crystallization in atmosphere. And this phenomena of losing water into the atmosphere, that phenomena is known as efflorescence. Again, ferrous sulfate heptahydrate, it contains 7 molecule of water of crystallization, and so it will lose all its molecule in the atmosphere. Next property is hygroscopy. Actually, some salts, they are hygroscopic in nature. And what is this hygroscopy? As some substance, they absorb water from air. अगर आप उनको open में रख देते हो, then what will happen? They absorb the water from air, but this water is not enough to form solutions. वो moisture gain कर लेते हैं. And this property to gain the moisture from atmosphere, that will be known as hygroscopy. Let's take example like calcium oxide, that is quicklime, sodium nitrate, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride that is a common example कि अगर हम टेबल सॉल्ट को जो है ओपन में रखते हैं then it get hydrate, so that will be hygroscopic in nature, sucrose, etc. And so these salts which gain moisture from air, that are known as hygroscopic in nature. Next type of property is deliquescence. And what will happen here, as you all know about hygroscopy, that some salts they absorb water from moisture, but there are certain solid substance when exposed to air they absorb enough water, enough to form solutions, यानी complete dissolve हो जाते हैं और solutions prepare हो जाता है. For example, sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide that is highly hygroscopic in nature, and what will happen after absorbing water moisture from atmosphere, it forms solutions, and the substance, the salts which form solutions, that will be the deliquescence in nature, and that property is known as deliquescence. Like calcium chloride, ferric chloride, potassium hydroxide, magnesium chloride. And so these substances which absorb more and more water moisture from air, they can be used as drying agent for gases. उनको हम as a drying agent जो है use कर सकते हैं. Now let's take first example of salt, that is sodium chloride. अब हम one by one जो है जितने भी हमारे पास आपके सिलेबस में salts given हैं वो सारे हम study करेंगे. तो first जो है that is sodium chloride और common salt, and also it is known as table salt, and formula will be NaCl, and you all are familiar with this NaCl and how it is prepared. It's very simple. Have a look on some characteristic. It is first characteristic, it is essential part of our diet and obtained from seawater, you all know. Second, rock salt, that is mined like coal and brown, and it is brown in color and crystalline in shape. And third point, it's very important, and it is used as a raw material for different chemicals. हम जितने भी आगे chemicals पढ़ेंगे, in all that there will be a raw material which is table salt. For example, washing soda, baking soda. And this sodium chloride, it is used in leather industry. It is spread on icy roads to melt ice, and also it's very important, it is used as a preservative like in pickles and provide flavor to food. Next will be caustic soda or sodium hydroxide, that is formula will be NaOH. And how this NaOH caustic soda will be prepared, again the raw material will be here NaCl. So it is prepared by passing electricity through a saturated aqueous solution of NaCl. And this saturated aqueous solution of NaCl, that is known as brine solution. Okay, brine solution हम बोलेंगे aqueous solution जो sodium chloride का बना हुआ है. And what will be the reaction here? This NaCl plus water, that will be brine solution, and after passing electric current, what will happen here? There will be formation of caustic soda, that is sodium hydroxide, and hydrogen gas will be evolved here, and that will be collected on cathode, and here chlorine gas will be evolved and it will collect on anode. Chlorine is evolved. Okay, sodium hydroxide, that is NaOH, it is also formed, which is known as caustic soda. And हमने पहले स्टडी किया है that this NaOH, it's an alkali, means it is soluble in water. This NaOH, potassium hydroxide, sodium oxide, these are alkalis and these are soluble in water. So this process is also known as chloralkali process. It's very important point, students. This process is known as chloralkali process. That is chlor for the formation of chlorine gas, and this alkali for sodium hydroxide. So this process is known as chloralkali process. तो पेपर में कई बार इस तरह से भी पूछा जाता है, what do you mean by chloralkali process and why formation of caustic soda is known as chloralkali process. Now next is, what are the uses of caustic soda? First use is in the manufacture of soaps, detergent and paper, and a large number of chemicals will be formed with the help of this caustic soda. Second, in cotton industry for cotton fabrics. Third, in the refining of petroleum and vegetable oils also used. and fourth one as a cleansing agent for machines. And fifth is, it is a very important laboratory agent. We can do many and many practical with the help of caustic soda. Next very important type of salt, that is bleaching powder, and formula will be CaOCl2, that is Ca for calcium, O for oxy and Cl2 for chloride. And this bleaching powder, it's a yellow powder. It is also known as calcium oxychloride, calcium hypochlorite or chlorides of lime also. Now let's understand the manufacture of this bleaching powder. This bleaching powder, it can be formed with the help of slaked lime. You all know about slaked lime. Slaked lime, that is calcium hydroxide, suspension of calcium hydroxide. And if it's solution, it will be lime water. So the aqueous solution of slaked lime, after reacting with chlorine gas, it will form calcium oxychloride and water will be a byproduct here. And this calcium oxychloride, that is bleaching powder. Now here are some properties of bleaching powder. Color, that is yellowish white powder, and odor that is strong smell of chlorine. Third is exposure to air. Actually what happens here, when we expose this salt to air, it deteriorate giving off chlorine gas. Strong smell जो chlorine की आती है, that is due to the reaction of calcium oxychloride, that is bleaching powder, with carbon dioxide, and there will be the formation of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate form हो जाएगा and chlorine gas will be evolved here, and the smell is due to this chlorine. Okay. Now fourth property is action with dilute acids, and it react with dilute hydrochloric acid and or dilute sulfuric acid to form the chlorine gas. That is bleaching powder react with hydrochloric acid, form calcium chloride plus water plus chlorine gas. Again sulfuric acid, it will form calcium sulfate, and water and chlorine gas also evolved here. Next, what are the uses of bleaching powder? And it's very important. The main use of bleaching powder, that is in bleaching of cotton, linen, wood pulp, जो भी हमको bleach करने में ये help करता है. And the article is to be bleached is first dipped in a solution of bleaching powder in a tank containing dilute hydrochloric acid. And so what will happen? The acid react with the bleaching powder and the chlorine produced bleaches the article. So due to the formation of this chlorine gas, it bleaches the articles, and the excess of chlorine remaining on the article is removed by dipping the article in the solution of an anti-chlor, that is such as sodium thiosulfate, which react with excess of chlorine. And so the articles then thoroughly washed with water and dried. So this is a small process how to bleach the clothes. Now next, as for sterilization of drinking water to make it germ free. वाटर को जो है स्टेरिलाइजेशन करने में, उसको जर्म फ्री बनाने में ब्लीचिंग पाउडर का यूज किया जाता है. एंड थर्ड इज इन द मैन्युफैक्चर ऑफ क्लोरोफॉर्म, एंड दिस ब्लीचिंग पाउडर इट्स अ वेरी गुड ऑक्सीडाइजिंग एजेंट इन केमिकल इंडस्ट्रीज. एंड फिफ्थ इज इट इज help in making wool unshrinkable. And this second use, it's also very important here, that which salt is used for sterilization of drinking water to make the germ free. Now there are some important questions. In one of the industrial process used for manufacture of NaOH sodium hydroxide, a gas is formed by product, and the gas acts react with lime water to give a compound Y, which is used as a bleaching agent. Identify X and Y. And here what happened? हमने अभी स्टडी किया है that NaCl sodium chloride brine solution, when we pass electricity through this brine solution, there will be the formation of sodium hydroxide and chlorine plus hydrogen gas, and so the gas will be chlorine. And so this chlorine gas, it will react with slaked lime and it will form calcium oxychloride and water, and so Y will be the bleaching powder here. And what happens if calcium oxychloride get left in open? Calcium oxychloride, after reacting with carbon dioxide, when we left in open, it will deteriorate and it will form calcium carbonate, and chlorine gas will be released here, and smell is due to the chlorine gas. Next, why calcium oxychloride salt is used in disinfecting water? So as in it chlorine gas is released which kill the bacteria present in water. Due to this chlorine gas, it will kill the bacteria, so it is used in disinfecting water. Next, identify the acids and the base whose combination form the common salt, and we use in our food very simple, that is NaCl. And this NaCl, it is formed by the reaction of HCl and NaOH. Already हम कर चुके हैं. Chemical name will be sodium chloride and sources will be obtained from seawater. And the deposit of solid salt found in several parts of the world is called rock salt, and it is crystalline salt having brown color. And why this brown color? Brown color is only due to the iron present in the salt, and some impurities are also present with them. And what happens when electricity is passed through brine? Write the chemical equation. Again, you all know that when electricity is passed through this brine solution, then there will be the formation of caustic soda and chlorine gas and hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas will collect on cathode and chlorine gas will collect on anode. Next question, a dry pellet of common base B, when kept in open, absorb moisture and turns sticky. The compound is a byproduct of chloralkali process. And identify the base B and what will be the reaction if base is treated with acidic oxide. So here again hint that the compound is also a byproduct of chloralkali process. So it will be base, that is NaOH, that is caustic soda. And what will happen when this caustic soda, it will react with sulfur dioxide, that is acetic oxide again, and it will form sodium sulfite, that is a salt, and water. So it's a neutralization reaction in which a salt and water are produced. Hope you got the concept here, and in next lecture we will study about washing soda and baking soda. And thanks for watching.